Imagine taking a newborn home, spending 7 weeks bonding with them as your own, only to be told you have to give that baby back. That's exactly what happened in this heartbreaking adoption case, and it all started with one major red flag.
Mr. and Mrs. Tothball, I've read your complaint, and I am most sympathetic because, as an old family court judge, this is not the first time that I've seen a failed adoption. According to your papers, you and your husband wish to adopt a child, and you were put in touch with the defendants, who, for reasons which I'm sure they will tell me, were prepared to relinquish the baby that the defendant was carrying to you, and you agreed to pay certain of her expenses for the last trimester of her pregnancy. So far, is that correct?
That's correct.
Is that correct? You did, in fact, make those payments. They were $1,500 a month to cover your expenses, medical bills, rent, whatever, during the course of the last trimester. And then the baby was born, a little girl, I believe, correct?
Right.
So you want to tell me what happened?
Well, we had entered into an adoption plan, as you've said. She was born. We were present at the birth. I was present at the birth with my mother. I assisted in the birth. And
in the delivery room?
In the delivery room, yes. The next day, we came back to pick up the baby to take her home. We met with the social workers, and they agreed to sign a placement agreement, which they signed. We took the baby home, and we had her in our home for 7 weeks. We have 2 children of our own. We're very grateful that we have them. We feel very fortunate.
How old are they?
9 and 7. We bonded with the baby for 7 weeks.
Had you been trying to have a third child?
No. 5 years ago, I had uterine cancer and hysterectomy, so I'm no longer able to have any more children. But we wanted to open our home up again to another child. We had always wanted to have more children, and this is just something we wanted to do, and which is why we chose adoption. We originally got involved in a surrogate program, but just got discouraged due to the success rate, and also because I had a lot of chemotherapy, and we didn't know the effect of the medication on my body, so we decided to adopt instead. And anyway, we had her for 7 weeks, and then they took her back. They took our baby back. I have photographs to show you. We bonded with her, we had her, and we were very devastated.
When did you know that there was difficulty?
We didn't know until she was born August 11th. We didn't know until mid-September.
What happened in mid-September?
We had a call from our attorney handling the adoption that apparently Debbie had sent them a letter stating that she was interested in possibly getting the baby back, but didn't say in so many words that she wanted the baby back. Basically beat around the bush. And he told us about this letter. We have never seen a copy of the letter. That was mid-September, and on September 30th, the morning of September 30th, I needed to bring her back.
How did that come about?
Well, there was a lot of talk for the tail end of the last 2 weeks of September. Phone conversations I was having between the social worker who was handling our case, phone conversations between myself and the attorney. She never really came out and told anybody she wanted the baby back. She never called me until the end of September, the 29th of September, was when I received a personal call from the birth mother stating that she wanted her back. And she said to me that she would like to meet me at a location, and she was going to call the attorney's office and let them know, make them aware of the fact that this is what was going to be happening. I was completely devastated. I was breaking down on the telephone. This wasn't, I mean, we had bonded with this baby. We had grown to love her. Our children had grown to love her. It wasn't as if she changed her mind, the day that she was born. This baby was becoming attached to us. She was developing a personality. We were bonding with her.
There were some legal documents that had to be signed after the placement agreement, because that's what usually happens.
Right.
And that's what we call a surrender document. You're familiar with that?
The only papers they told me that I needed to sign, if I wanted to, was to waive my rights for the 90 days.
That's what I'm talking about. And you did not sign those.
Right.
Am I correct?
Is this the waiver? You're talking about the waiver?
I'm talking about the waiver.
Right. No, I never signed those.
But you were asked to sign the waiver.
I was asked to sign those many times.
Many times. Well, we'll get to that in a moment.
She had also agreed to sign it in the hospital.
Are you two married?
No.
Your Honor.
But you live together?
Right.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long have you been living together?
5 years.
Yeah.
We have a 4-year-old together.
And how many other children do you have?
We have 4, besides the baby. We have 5.
And what made you decide that you thought it was in the child's best interest, since I assumed that that was your motivation, to place this child for adoption?
Neither one of us was working at the time, Your Honor.
We were just having a really bad time, and we neither one had a job, and
We just thought it would be the best for the baby.
because we couldn't provide really well for our own children and this one, and it was just very, hard.
It was
It
a
was a very
difficult
hard decision. It wasn't something that was easy. It was heartbreaking. It was very hard.
I'm sure it was. But you decided to do it.
Right.
The case will continue in a moment.
This is such a heartbreaking situation because everyone involved ends up hurting, especially the baby. While I absolutely understand that biological parents have the right to change their minds about placing their child for adoption, the first red flag was that no legal adoption papers were signed after the baby was born. Without that legal step, there was always the possibility that the biological parents could reverse their decision. After 7 weeks, the adoptive parents had already taken the baby home, bonded with the child, and started building their lives around becoming parents. Having that child taken back would be emotionally devastating. The biological parents' circumstances may have changed, or they may simply have realized they couldn't go through with the adoption, and that's their right. But this case also highlights why it's so important for everyone to follow the proper legal process from the beginning to avoid uncertainty and heartbreak for all involved. At the end of the day, the people I feel for the most are the baby and both families, because this is a painful outcome no matter which side you look at it from.
Cost.
So let's get to the reason you changed your mind and when you did.
There was just many reasons. There was many reasons because, well, one reason is because I wanted her. It was devastating for me to give her up. When your baby's born, you cry because you're happy. I cried because I was just
I cried because I had to give her
heartbroken.
away.
Right, and it was very hard. And
When, for the first time, did you make the decision that you were going to ask for her back?
it was about a month later.
When? She was born in
August.
August? And when did you decide to ask? When, in your mind, did you say, I'm going to ask for her back?
I can't tell you an exact date. I mean, I was going through so much, it's just in September. I had talked to the agency weeks before, and they never told them anything.
That's
I
because
kept
you told
calling.
them not to tell us.
I did not tell
No,
them.
no, don't talk to each other.
I had talked to the social worker.
Did you have misgivings right after the baby was born in August about whether you were going to go through with this adoption?
No.
Was it a week later? Was it 2 weeks later?
It was about, 4 weeks later. There was a lot of things that led up to it. Is that we had to go through so many things.
Like what?
Like, we sent all our kids away because we kept it a secret. And that was very, very emotional because I kept hidden. I didn't tell very many people. And just different things. It was just really hard. And they had told us things that, like, he wasn't even present for the birth. And I felt like, she wasn't as important as their own children.
That's not the reason, Debbie, that you changed your mind.
No, that's not the only reason. It was just different things.
Go
I
ahead.
was just unsure about what was going on. And I felt, when I talked to everybody, the agencies and the lawyers and everything, they made me feel like I was, less important, or I just felt less significant, and it wasn't as important for them to send me the papers. They made me feel like I was selling her. And that wasn't my intentions at all.
When, for the first time, were you asked to sign the waiver? In the hospital?
Yes.
And you decided not to sign the waiver in the hospital. Can you tell
No.
me why? He did.
No, there was something was said like we were going to go out a couple weeks later for lunch or something and sign this paper, this
You
waiver.
mean you weren't asked to sign the waiver in the hospital?
Yeah, we were.
Sure you were.
Yeah, and we declined it then
Right. My question to you is, why did you say no, sir, in the hospital?
in case she wanted to get the baby back because
What
I was
about you?
fully supporting her and whatever she wanted to do.
So even in the hospital, you weren't sure that you were going to go through with this adoption. Is that what you're telling me?
No, I'm not telling you that at all.
But what you just said to me suggests that that was true, because if at that moment of the child's birth you were totally committed to this adoption, then you would have signed the waiver at the time. Don't speak to him. I understand that you can have a change of heart. My point is, these people are suing for nothing else other than, at this point, $4,500, which is what they gave to you in support for the 3 months that they agreed to. I mean, they can't be compensated for their heartbreak. That doesn't necessarily make you the bad guys, because you're entitled to have a change of heart. That's what the law provides. But my question is, when was the point in time when you had this change of heart? If you were committed to the adoption without reservation, you would have signed the waiver in the hospital at the time that they took the baby home.
We couldn't. We had to do it after. We had to go to this in LA somewhere. That's what we were told.
Because he wasn't there to sign something.
He doesn't have to be there to sign. You have to be there to sign. The waiver is something you have to do.
But they told me I could not sign this in the hospital.
They asked you to do it immediately thereafter, and you put them off.
No, I was going to do it. I had told them I would. And you know that I told them I would.
You never did it. Did you go away on vacation?
I was going to go away, and I never was able to go.
But you told them you were going away on vacation.
Right.
Whether you went or not, you said you couldn't sign the papers. You'll sign them when you come home from vacation, correct?
Right.
So that's
They
right.
called me 3 days after the baby was born. They called me 3 days. I didn't want to talk about this. I didn't want to deal with it. You know, it was...
Debbie, I'm
But
not
I did not
faulting
tell
you
them.
for changing your mind, Debbie. I want you to understand that. The law builds that in. But if what you're telling me is 3 days after the baby was born, when the baby is already with the new parents, you're called and said, would you come in so we can sign the papers?
That's not what they didn't call me to say that. They just called me to tell me that he hadn't signed his part of the papers yet, just to let me know what was going on. That was the only time I ever heard from anybody.
No, that's not true. You knew you had to sign the waiver. Come on,
Right,
Debbie.
that's not what they said, but they
you
weren't
knew
telling me to do it then.
You knew you had to sign the
Right.
waiver, and you kept putting it off.
And we had 90 days to do
They
it.
didn't tell me I had to sign
I know
it. They
you
said-
had 90 days to do it, sir. I mean,
Right.
are we understanding each other?
Yeah, totally. I'm not disputing anything. I'm just saying.
You had 90 days. Of course you have 90 days to do it. The idea is if you're committed to doing it,
Right.
then you do it at the earliest possible time, right? And you two folks didn't do that because you had misgivings as to whether you were absolutely positive that you wanted to do it. Is that true?
No,
I don't
it's not.
believe you.
If
I don't believe that. I don't believe that, because otherwise you would have done it. And the bottom line is, you did in fact say, I'm not signing the papers, I want the baby back. I'm not faulting you for wanting your baby back. I'm faulting you for taking their payment in September.
And you know,
I'm faulting you for that.
The case will continue in a moment. The heartbreak of an adoptive mother who finally had to make the ultimate sacrifice because the birth mother changed her mind. Now, they are suing to recoup the cost of the adoption.
You took the money in September, even though you had misgivings. That's not fair, because that also says to them, everything is going the way it should be going. We can fall in love with this baby. That's not fair. And what I'm suggesting to you is, they're not the bad guys here. You're not bad either. But you didn't play it 100% straight with them. And it's a shame.
you know, when I talked to her, and I hadn't even made up my mind then, she was very, very mean. She says, I am not a babysitter, and I'm going to call Child Protection Services.
Well, for
And
once.
I hadn't even said anything yet.
Sure,
and
she
after she said, do you want to come to my house and see our home and everything? And I agreed. That kept going through my mind. How could she be so mean? She's going to call the Child Protection Service on this baby. Well, she's hurting the baby. And then when we did change our mind, and they made it very, very hard for us to get the baby.
You would too.
And-
If the circumstances were different, Debbie, you would too.
No. She dropped her off. She didn't even tell me what kind of formula she was drinking. She dropped her off in just a diaper and a T-shirt, which, you know what? I didn't even know what kind of formula she was drinking.
Why didn't you ask?
She wasn't there.
Just why didn't you ask the social worker?
The social worker wasn't there either. The social worker was on vacation. The lawyer was the one that was giving us a hard time. He wouldn't even let the father pick her up. He's the one that told us they were going to call child. They made us feel like we were evil, and it was
In
nothing.
their minds, Debbie, you were evil. First, they hear that you're unable to take care of this infant because you have too many other kids that have to
Right.
be taken care of. You have no jobs. You have no way of supporting this baby. And so that two people, the two of you, who look like two able-bodied people, had to accept $4,500, $1,500 a month to pay your rent and your food and whatever other expenses you had just to keep you for the last trimester of this baby's birth. And then, after 7 weeks, you say, well, now I want her back. Were you both working? Were you both working at the time you got her back?
I had just started working.
When you got her back. So who was going to take care of the baby?
I had a babysitter.
You know what? She sent her sister to pick up the baby.
That's right, because I just started
She was at
working.
work.
I had just started a brand new job. I couldn't just leave.
Talking about your daughter.
And we'd already agreed on this the night before. And she knew the whole situation.
She doesn't know the whole situation, Debbie.
No, I told her that
you're not being fair. You can't say that these folks did anything wrong.
I didn't say they were doing anything wrong.
Okay.
Can I mention something else?
Sure.
In lieu of receiving an epidural in the hospital, they wanted money in exchange for that.
But I didn't come up with it.
Please don't speak.
They wanted money in exchange for that. That didn't come from us. We wouldn't make such a suggestion. I told her I wanted her to be comfortable, and we would talk about that after the fact. 2 days after the baby was born, we received a call from our attorney's office stating that they wanted $720 in lieu of an epidural so they could take their other children to Disneyland in San Diego.
The case will continue in a moment.
I know you're heartbroken. Fortunately for you, you can be heartbroken and look at your 2 kids when you go home.
Right.
You know that.
I'm very grateful for my children. I'm very fortunate.
I'm sure you know other people who have been through the adoption process and the adoptions have failed that don't have the 2 gifts that you do at home to go home and look at. It doesn't make it any easier. Tough lesson, but you understand how hurt they are. All right, the issue is not a difficult one, especially since I believe that you understand it is your moral responsibility to return this money. You had an agreement with the plaintiffs that that they would, in fact, take care of you for 3 months of your pregnancy, and you would allow them to adopt your baby. You did not allow them to adopt your baby, and therefore, they're entitled to their money back. So judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
When the biological mother says she changed her mind because she felt less important and felt like she was being treated as though she was selling her child, it raises a lot of questions. Feeling overlooked or emotionally unsupported during pregnancy is real, and no one should be made to feel like they're simply part of a transaction. But when I hear her say she felt less important, I can't help but wonder what she means by that. Was she expecting the attention to remain on her while the prospective adoptive parents were naturally focused on preparing for the baby? If that's the case, it's understandable why their attention shifted. They were getting ready to become parents. That doesn't necessarily mean they valued her any less. At the same time, we only know one side of the story. We don't know exactly how she was treated or what conversations took place behind closed doors. What we do know is that no adoption papers were signed after the birth, which left the door open for her to change her mind. Legally, she had that right. The judge, however, also ruled that the biological parents had to repay the money they received because it had been given in anticipation of the adoption going ahead. That decision separates the emotional issue from the financial one. They had the right to keep their child, but they weren't entitled to keep money that had been provided for an adoption that ultimately didn't happen. At the end of the day, this case is heartbreaking for everyone involved. The biological parents kept their child. The adoptive parents lost a baby they had loved and cared for 7 weeks. And everyone walked away carrying emotional scars. It's a reminder that adoption is never just a legal process. It's deeply emotional, and every decision has lasting consequences. What do you think about this case? Do you agree with the judge's decision? Should the biological parents have had to repay the money? Or do you think the ruling was unfair? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this discussion, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.